Welcome back to another episode of the Winner's Circle, you guys. This is quickly becoming my favorite segment, and I think before I even started it, actually, it was my favorite segment, but the Winner's Circle literally means so much to me. Like, this is something I get so excited about, and I'm thinking about it throughout the week every single time when it's coming up, and I'm like, okay, what should I talk about this week? What do I want to bring forward? These conversations are like truly what gives me life, and they make me feel so happy and so fulfilled and so aligned as a coach sharing these types of conversations. So to everybody that has been sharing these conversations with your family, with your friends, with your neighbors, with your siblings, I don't care who it is. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for spreading these conversations. Thank you so much for really listening and engaging in these conversations, because again, the whole point of the Winner's Circle is that not everybody's going to have this conversation. Not everybody's going to open themselves up to even wanting to have these types of conversations. Not only is this a lot of tough love, but it's also a lot of topics that people tend to stray away from. As humans, as adults, it's vulnerable. It's hard to talk about some of these things. And there's a lot you have to face about yourself as a result of these conversations. So to every single person that has been openly listening, opening their mind, maybe even doing some journaling or some, thinking conversations in person, whatever it is, as a result of these topics that are brought forward in the Winner's Circle, just understand you are part of the few percent of people, the very, very small group that is actually like really doing something significant to move the needle forward in your life. And on the topic of, yes, these conversations can be uncomfortable. Yes, these conversations can make you face a lot of things that you don't necessarily want to have to face. This week's topic is no stranger to this. This week's topic is perfectly on fleek with talking about things that you might not always want to acknowledge. And so there's been a theme coming up for me a lot this week in conversations with clients, in conversations that I'm bringing forward on social media. And as it turns out, even the full moon is based around this topic. So the conversation is around fear, but in a different way than you may be thinking. I brought forward a conversation on TikTok earlier this week, if you follow me there, and it was a whole conversation about the fear of failure stopping us from pursuing our greatness. And while that absolutely, mark my words, will be a topic here on the Winner's Circle, that's going to be for a different week. I want to stray the conversation in a slightly different direction. And when we're talking about fear of failure, it comes from this paralysis of needing to do everything perfectly. Because obviously if you fail, then you make it mean something about you. You make it mean that you're a bad person, or you're unworthy, or you're unvaluable, not invaluable, whatever you associate with failing. And what that does is it often puts us, former athletes or anybody really having to go through making decisions, puts us in a state of paralysis. It puts us in a state of not even knowing how to make the next best decision to get you where you want to go, because you're so stuck on, what do I do so that I don't fail? And so on that topic today during the Winner's Circle, we are going to be discussing a really, really great conversation that I've been having a lot lately. It's been popping up in my head. It's been popping up in podcasts. And it's the whole idea of, you don't have to worry about making the right decision. And before you literally turn off the podcast because you're like, yes, I do. I do have to worry about making the right decision. I'm a perfectionist. Hear me out. The reason you don't have to worry about always making the quote unquote right decision is because the actual value, the actual needle moving behavior is in making the decision right. I'm going to repeat that for you. It's not about making the right decision. It is about making the decision right. And that right there is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. Those who actuate to their potential versus those who never actually meet and find their potential. Because when you have the mindset, when you have the adaptability, when you have the fluidity to trust yourself, because God, that's such a big piece of this, to trust yourself to make a decision right, no matter what the decision is, that's resilience. That's being adaptable. We think about our muscles. Our muscles will adapt to whatever stimulus we place on them. Well, why can't we as humans adapt to whatever life throws at us? Why do we get so stuck? We don't get mad at our muscles and call them failures because they didn't adapt quickly or they didn't get as big or as strong as we wanted to. We go back to the drawing board and we say, okay, do we need to reevaluate the weight on the bar? Do we need to reevaluate the form? Do we need to reevaluate the way we are progressing our squat over time? Like, we don't get mad at our muscles for not being perfect. We just say, okay, this is some information. Let's change and shift things as a result. Let's make this program right, because in the end, I'm trying to get big, juicy quads, and I'm not doing that right now. So I've got to take the data that's in front of me, and I'm going to make other decisions to make this whole process go the way I want it to. But when it comes to life, when it comes to business decisions or professional decisions or relationship decisions, we're out here being like, I'm going to sit in a state of paralysis and ponder this for a million years with my friends, neighbors, and therapists until I find the absolute perfect decision, and I'm not going to do anything until I find that perfect decision. I'm sorry, didn't we just decide that it's not about always doing the exact perfect thing, but it's about adapting to whatever you're handed? If you're going to do that for your muscles, if you're going to do that for your runs, if you're going to do that for your swimming, if you're going to do that for whatever you're training for, why aren't you doing that in other areas of your life? This is such an important topic, because once you realize that you have the ability to take a situation and be able to maneuver it no matter what, instead of only trusting yourself to maneuver the exact perfect circumstances, oh my God, does the world open up for you? I mean, think about it for a minute. Find something in your life that has been racking your brain silly trying to make a decision. Think about it. I can think of 10 billion off the top of my head right now that I overthink and I analyze and I get paralysis by analysis because I cannot make up my mind about which direction to go with this decision. I'm a Libra. Your girl doesn't like making decisions. However, I'm working on changing that narrative about myself, because I don't want to be someone paralyzed by decisions. I want to be someone that trusts myself enough to adapt to whatever I'm handed. And again, that's like a core topic when we're speaking on the concept of making decisions right, is this really relies on a level of self-trust that I don't think a lot of people have. Because not only are you going to throw yourself into the deep end and say, all right, I hope this works out, but you also have to go, but if it doesn't work out, I trust myself to swim out of this deep water. I trust myself to get out of the choppy seas. I trust the strength of my swimming abilities to get out of whatever situation I'm handed. And a lot of people are out here being like, no, you're doing like the Michael Phelps front stroke where I'm out here doing the doggy paddle. Like, I do not trust myself enough to get through this because I've been burned a lot of times in the past. I have negatively adapted to situations in the past. I've seen myself go through a lot of pain and a lot of heartache because of decisions I made in the past and having to live with the consequences of these decisions. And while you can never avoid the consequence of a decision, the consequences of decisions is very much like, a cause and effect experience. What you can do is, again, navigate these muddy waters. Yeah, you think that this is a really crappy consequence because you made a crappy decision. Okay, well, what are you going to do now because the decision was made? You can't stay in a state of being afraid of making a decision because you don't want to have to deal with the consequences. One way or the other, you're making a decision. You're either making a decision to act or you're making a decision to stay. So why don't you just make a decision, follow through with it with your whole heart, and then just adjust. Once we can understand that flexibility in life is like the biggest superpower you could possibly have, oh my gosh, this truly is when you're able to navigate challenges and hardships and roadblocks so much better. And this applies to every area of life, but let's take fitness as an example. Let's say you're out here, you're on your train like an athlete journey, and you're like, okay, listen, I'm pretty good at this workout thing, but my nutrition is cheeks. So you go, okay, I just got to choose something and stick with it because, I hear all of this dietary information online and I scroll through TikTok and one video tells me carnivore, the next tells me vegan, and the next tells me keto, and the next tells me high carb. And I don't know what the fuck is going to be good for me because everybody's saying something different. So you say, all right, instead of getting lost in the sauce of all these different opinions, I'm just going to choose one and follow through on it. So unfortunately, you choose keto and you do the ketogenic diet and you do it for 2 or 3 weeks and you notice that your life sucks, as many people who's living on keto do, but you notice that your life sucks and you're like, wow, this is terrible. I don't want to uphold it. I don't even want to eat the foods that I have. I constantly find myself craving sweets and stuff that I want to get takeout, and I can't do my social plans anymore. And whatever happens as a result of choosing keto. Here's the thing. You're like, okay, well, I clearly didn't make the quote unquote right decision with my diet because this doesn't feel sustainable. It doesn't feel good for my body and I have no energy. So there's two ways you can go here. You can either go boohoo, poor me, and pout about it and just, fall off the dietary track like you've done every other time. Or you can go, all right, keto was not the vibe. What do I want to change now about my current situation to bring me into a better place? Well, let's see. Keto, there ain't no carbs, and I'm working out like an athlete 6 days a week. So how about I stick with what I've been doing, but I add a carbohydrate source to each of my meals? Boom, that's an adaptable response. That is here's my data and here's what I'm going to do about it level response. Now, you wait 2 weeks doing that exact process and you go, nice. My energy is actually way better. I have more energy to do my workouts. I find myself able to get through the last 10 minutes of energy systems development at the end of my workout instead of pooping out midway through my second strength block. This is fantastic. But the thing is, my digestion is crap. I notice that things are not moving. I'm getting constipated. I still don't feel good in my stomach. There's a lot of stomach bubbles all the time. That's when I go, okay, well, maybe it's my fiber. Maybe I'm not eating enough fiber. So I look over my diet and I go, okay, let me add 2 servings of fruit to my breakfast and 3 servings of vegetables to my lunch and 3 servings of vegetables to my dinner. Cool. Actionable, adaptable steps based upon the data that was presented to you by your life. And instead of just going, oh, no diet works for me. I made the adjustments once and it didn't work. Stop it. You are probably not going to get it right the first time, and you're probably not going to get it right the second time either, so keep being adaptable. So you add the fruits and vegetables to your diet, you have more micronutrients, you have more fruit fibers, you have a better feeling gut as a result, and you go, wow, this is amazing. And at this point, because you've been trying each of these for a couple weeks at a time, you're 6 weeks into trying intentional dieting mixed with your training like an athlete schedule, and boom, your body feels better, your body looks better, your clothes fit better, you have better energy. People are starting to notice that you have this light about you that you didn't have before. And instead of giving up 2 weeks into keto because it wasn't necessarily the decision that was best for your body, you kept making every decision about your nutrition right by adapting. Keto wasn't the quote-unquote right decision for your body, so you adapted. And then you noticed that it still wasn't the quote-unquote right decision for your body because not everything was the way you wanted it to be, so you kept adapting. That's a very simple example of how you can make the decision right from a dietary perspective. However, I think most people are probably not thinking about it from this perspective. And if you are, fantastic, there's some free advice. There's some free coaching for you. So I joined the Reformed Athlete. But a lot of people are going to think about this more from the sense of life. So I'm going to share a personal story here. I think I might have shared this in the last episode actually, but I moved to San Diego, California in 2021 after I had graduated from college in 2020. And I decided to start a business. And you might be thinking, let's see, you were 22, 23 years old. You were freshly out of college. There was a global pandemic going on, and you decided to move to the most expensive city in the United States without a job. Instead, I said, oh yeah, let's start a business now. Let's go off of very small savings that I'd built up from the previous year and see if I can make all of this work at once. Let's see if I can triple my rent and be able to cover it. Let's see if I can live far away from family who actually ended up coming over, which was fantastic. But let's see if I can, live further away from a source of safety. Let's see if I, without a steady stream of income coming from an outside source, can create my own. Let's figure out how to run a business at the same time as making a sustainable income, at the same time as moving to a new place where you've got to make roots here. You've got to socialize. You've got to make professional connections. You've got to figure out who your people are around here. And meanwhile, it's also a pandemic. So there's many factors at play here. So I decided, you know what, Fit by KP needs to happen. It feels right. I know that nothing else really makes sense for me. I know I have this draw. I know I have this pull. I know I have this deep, deep, deep desire to make this happen. And so right there, we're going to pause. I knew this was going to be something that felt right for me. Was starting a business in the situation that I did the right decision? Well, it didn't actually matter because my mindset was, I'm going to make this decision right. No matter what, I'm going to make this business work. No matter what, I'm going to make sure I can pay my rent. No matter what, I'm going to make sure that my clients are getting helped in the best way possible. I'm going to invest in who I need to invest in. I'm going to do what I need to do with my time. I'm going to work 7 days a week if I have to. I'm going to figure out what this looks like so that I can make this decision to start a business in this particular set of circumstances the best decision for me. I'm going to make this decision right, because in my heart, I don't feel like I have another choice. In my heart, I don't feel like there is another alternative. I know I want to start this business. I feel this draw and this need to start this business. And how many of you have gone through that where you're like, I can't really explain why, but I'm supposed to do this thing. I'm supposed to be with this person. I'm supposed to have this job. I'm supposed to go on this adventure. And it doesn't really make sense. I don't know what to do because half of the voices in my head are telling me this is a bad idea. This is a scary idea. This is uncomfortable. This could lead to a really big blowout. And the other half of the voices are telling me, oh, but this could be amazing. This could truly make me feel so purpose-filled. This could make me feel so happy. This could make me feel so fulfilled with my life. And so you have the angel and the devil fighting in your ear. The scales are not, they're too balanced. You can't figure out which direction to go. And that's when you get paralyzed, and that's when you don't know how to make a decision, which I so easily could have done. I so easily could have gone, well, financially, this is not the best decision. Situationally, environmentally, this is questionable at best. And really, girl, you don't know what you're doing. So why don't you stay in your safe job for a little while, make money while you learn how to run a business, and then later down the line, you can start your own business. And while that would not have been a bad decision, in fact, maybe that would have been a smart decision. However, I had a draw, I had a pull, I had a gravitational level magnetism towards this other side that said, no, you'll be okay, just start. And so that's what I did. And I had to make the decision right because there was no other option. What was I going to do? Go sleep on the street? Like, I had to make it work. I wanted to serve people. I had a deep calling in my life. And so through trial and tribulation, after trial and tribulation, I was able to get to the point where things started to click, where things started to make sense. And there was a lot of roadblocks. There was a lot of hills. There was a lot of valleys. And there were a lot of peaks too. But this was not an easy path. There was a lot of, okay, hit with reality. What decision can I make next to make this decision right? What decision can I make next to make sure I still have a business? What decision can I make next to bring more people into my world? What decision can I make next to make sure that I have enough money to pay my insurance and my rent and my bills and everything else that comes with it? So it was not an easy path to navigate, but I had the mindset of, no, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make this work, come hell or high water. This is what's going to happen. And when I had that gung-ho, that gusto attitude behind, I will do this, it's a determination. It's like a tenacity, a hunger to make this work. That's what always kept me going to make every decision I made the right decision. And how many quote unquote wrong decisions were made? I can't even count. There aren't enough fingers in the toes in God's green earth to be able to tell me how many things I did not do the right way or how many things I should have done differently. But it doesn't matter because I'm still here, aren't I? I'm still making this podcast. I'm still helping clients every single day. I'm still expanding my coaching. I'm still growing in this world in a way I've never grown before because I had the resilience and the determination combined with the mindset of, I will make this work. I will not take a wrong decision and make it mean something about me. I will not take a roadblock and make me fail and make my failures make me quit. I will not quit. There is no quit in me. I'm going to make this work. I don't care what anybody else says. In fact, I don't really even confide in other people that much anymore because I don't want to hear their opinion. I don't need it. I know how to make a decision right. And if I don't, I trust myself to be able to adapt, and I did not always trust myself to do that. There were so many times I wanted to throw in the towel, but I said, just give yourself another shot, and I kept doing that. I kept doing it. It's like when you're on a run, and you don't want to keep running, and you go, fine, I'll just make it to that next mailbox, and then you get to the mailbox, and you're like, okay, I'll just make it to the electrical pole, and then you make it to the electrical pole, and you're like, okay, I'll just make it to that stop sign, and you keep setting a mark, reaching that mark, and then resetting it, and then resetting it, and then resetting it, and before you know it, you've added another mile, you've added another 10 minutes, you've added another 100 meters onto your run. Well, it's the exact same thing that I was doing with my business. It's the same thing I was doing with this decision. I don't know if this was the quote unquote right decision for me, but I knew for sure I was going to make this decision right. And you can, again, apply this to any aspect of your life, because every single day our lives are just made up of a series of decision after decision after decision. Every action we take is a decision. Everything in our life is a decision, whether it's the foods we eat, the time we go to bed, the people we associate with, our daily actions, the milk we put in our coffee, the salt we put on our food, the left turn we make at that stoplight. Everything is a decision. Every action is a result of you saying, this is what I'm going to do next. This is what I'm going to do next. This is what I'm going to do next. And it can feel so mundane, and we're not aware when we don't allow ourselves to be present in what we're doing. It can feel like everything is running on autopilot. And sometimes our brain's autopilot does take over, but it's still a decision. And so the more we can come into our presence, the more we can come into our thoughts, the more we can really be here as we're making decisions and say, how do I want to make today different? How do I want to move the needle closer to my goal? What decision am I going to make today that I've been too afraid to make? And how am I going to make it right no matter what? And you know what the thing is? You can't actually anticipate how things are going to unfold as a result of your decisions. You make a decision, you have to wait to see how it unfolds. Of course, you can anticipate certain things, you can prepare for certain outcomes or certain consequences, and have a game plan, have an action, have a strategy in place for if one of those things were to occur. But at the end of the day, everything's unknown. We have no way of predicting the future. We only have, predictions based off of past likely outcomes. But at the end of the day, that's just a guess. Everything is a guess. It's all just probability. So what you need to do is not only trust yourself to go follow through on your decisions, but you need to trust yourself to be able to navigate. And I can't stress this enough. This comes from self-trust. You're never, ever, ever going to be able to make a decision right if you don't trust yourself to do it. So I know you're listening to this. You've only made it this far because you're listening to this and you're relating. Whether it's that thing you've been too afraid to train for, again, that diet you've been too afraid to start, that professional decision that you've been too afraid to make, whatever it is, everybody has something they're relating to right now when they listen to this. Today, as you listen to this, pause this if you have to, stop this if you have to, press pause on Spotify and grab a piece of paper. I want you to figure out what it is, what that thing is that you've been afraid to make a decision on, that you've been stuck in the paralysis stage, that you've been stuck in a freeze state, unable to make a decision on. And it could be small, it could be big, I don't know. You know what you're thinking of. I want you to make a decision right now. Right now. And you're going to make this decision from the perspective of somebody that would make this decision right. For me, when I think about business, I step into the Forbes 30 under 30 version of Caitlin when I go to make a business decision. Even if it's sending an email, even if it's posting an Instagram story, even if it's deciding what topic I want to speak about on the podcast, it's Forbes 30 under 30 Caitlin that makes this decision, not just passive, cute little KP. No, Caitlin, the businesswoman, makes these decisions. I make it from the energy of, I will make this work. I will make this make sense. I will make this the right decision, because no matter what happens as a result, I know that I'm freaking good at this, and then I'm going to be able to adapt. So if it's a fitness decision you haven't been able to make it from the mindset of an elite athlete in that sport. If it's a dietary decision you haven't been able to make it from the perspective of a dietitian you admire. If it's a professional decision, make it from the Forbes 30 under 30 version of you. If it's a relationship decision, make it from the frickin' Oprah Winfrey version of you. I don't know, whoever you admire in this space, but I want you to confidently embody the version of you that makes decisions right. And you're going to take that decision, that thing that you can't figure out, and you're going to make an action on it today. You're going to decide something about that decision today that is going to move the needle forward, that is going to get you out of the paralysis state. And no matter what happens as a result, you're going to navigate it. You're going to figure it out. And you're going to remind yourself every single time the doubt comes into your head, I trust myself to get through this. I trust myself to navigate this. I trust myself to make my way through this. I'm an adaptable person. I'm flexible. And I'm somebody that is able to make every decision that comes my way right, because I don't give up. I pursue. I continue. I am resilient. And I know that I trust myself to take on whatever life decides to give to me. So don't worry about making the right decision, because there's no such thing, because every single infinite possibility in the world exists at the same time. So you're never going to know what the right decision is. because there's too many to choose from. There's literally an infinite number. All you're going to worry about is making a decision from this state of higher confidence, from this state of higher energy, higher vibration, and then you're going to take whatever life gives you as a result, and you're going to adapt. Never feel like you're stuck. Never feel like you can't move forward, or like one decision was permanent. Yeah, of course, there are decisions where you can't undo the consequences, so don't be an idiot. However, what you can do is always be adaptable. Always work on making a decision that moves your life forward, that moves your alignment forward, that moves your purpose forward, and that helps serve the community around you. And that's the best you can ever ask from yourself. That is this week's episode of The Winner's Circle. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm literally about to cough up a storm. Hopefully my voice will be back to normal soon. It sounds pretty good today. We're almost there. So thank you guys so much for bearing with me through this season of me losing my voice for the last 2 weeks. I cannot wait to come on here next week and talk. As always, if you have any topics you would like me to cover here on The Winner's Circle, don't hesitate to ask it in the comments. You can message me on Instagram at fitbykp. You can email me fitbykp@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, and rate this podcast 5 stars if you liked it. Share it with your community, and I will catch you guys for the next episode of The Reformed Athlete.